All right, take two. We're on. Hi, I'm Kiana Love. I'm the founder of Be Wild Woman, and this is another episode of Wild Conversations. And today I'm here at Lift Next Level Floats with Dave and Gina. And they have just opened, and I'm super excited to enter into the pod, into the floating pod, which is sensory deprivation tanks and pools. But I like to, as I was talking with Dave earlier, I don't think of them as depriving of senses, but it creates a space where other sensory is taken out. You can explain
Right.
much better than me.
Well, I guess, they say that blind people or people who become blind, their other senses get accentuated. So, and I think you had said, it's not sensory deprivation, it's enhancing. But I guess it's enhancement through taking something away.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't feel where all my body was in the same way, but there were certain things that were just much more heightened, and the outside world wasn't there.
Right.
And people definitely say when they get out of the tank, their sense of smell, hearing, taste, it is.
And even Patricia, you saw when she was here, she said she was literally able to hear her eyelashes blinking. So
And she was glowing.
she was glowing.
She was told, she's like, now I'm going to go and eat.
Yeah. She was
just
in herself, enjoying herself, So
yeah.
it does that.
I
I had
just-
another person the other day, as soon as he came out, he's just like, I just want to get like a juice or something. It just inspires you to do the next healthy thing, and that's one of the nice things about it.
The other reason that I am sharing this with you, because on the journey of coming home to your body, you may have heard me talk about what I call wombing, was the sense of being at home in your body and in your life. And it's my belief that the womb is not just a noun; it's an action. It's ideally we're meant to have that in our life. That sense that we're completely safe and held is something that is innate for us. And a lot of us, we don't have that connection. Either our mothers were stressed out, or in general we've been conditioned by society to not relax, to not trust where we are, to not really say that we can just let go. So a lot of the pathway that I'm sharing at Be Wild Woman is how to do that. And this here is a wonderful way to physically engage and physically have a space where instead of, okay, I'm going to be here, noise is going on, take this journey, and here's somewhere where you can really dive into that and
No
kind
pun
of have, yes,
Sorry.
and be in this, the closest I think you can come to going back to the womb, and I would say in a lot of cases, going back to a womb that you never ever had. So I would love to.
That's lovely. Can't wait for your description after you come out of the tank.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So I want to, for you guys to hear more about how did you get here? How did you get hooked?
Right. So a long time ago, more years than I care to admit, I used to float a lot. Floating was a big fad back in the 80s, and that will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I was a college kid and didn't know much about meditation or spirituality, but a friend said, oh, you got to try this. And so I went in flotation tanks and was kind of hooked immediately. And
Can you tell me about that? Being hooked immediately. How were
so
you hooked?
So I was hooked. Being a college kid is stressful, and it was an escape for me. It just gave me a respite from all the anxiety and stress of being a college kid. Although, in retrospect, in the scheme of things, being a college kid doesn't sound so bad. But what really struck me was if I could just go into my head and think about floating after I was out of the tank for literally weeks after. If I just imagined myself back in the tank, it would center me and just bring me to this amazing sense of calm and peace. And again, I knew nothing about meditation, so
Thinking about it, you had a whole physical memory, whole experience.
completely. And then, fast forward 20 plus years, didn't think about floating, and friends of mine in the city told me that they went and floated. And I'm like, wow, where'd you do that? And they told me, oh, some guy's apartment in Chelsea. And I started to get all nostalgic about flotation, and I started to research it, and I discovered that there were a couple of places in the city to float, but basically the industry had sadly died, but coincidentally it was starting up again. And a couple of months after I started researching it, people held a conference in San Francisco, and I went out for it, and there was about 40 some odd people there. And I continued researching, and then in summer 2013, I went out to Portland, where the conference had moved to, and it had grown, and there was now, I think, maybe over 500 people.
Oh, that's a significant.
Oh yeah.
It's back, huh?
It is. Floating is definitely
I remember
back.
they commented. They said this will probably be the last year we'll all fit in this size of a room. It was, how they closed out. And I think they're right at this point. They probably moved to a larger venue, I think.
And so when I was out there, contacts within the industry told me about this mysterious woman, Gina, and she was supposedly a New Yorker, but was out on the West Coast and was hoping to move back and open a center. And I really wanted to collaborate with someone, and I finally met the mysterious Gina, and we just hit it off, clicked immediately. And it didn't hurt that both of us were attendees of this event called Burning Man. Not sure if your followers know about it or not, but for the uninitiated, it's a participatory art event held
Arts
at
and Music
Art
Festival,
City.
yeah.
It's the third largest city in Nevada for its week of its existence.
For 1 week.
And
Wild Woman was born there too.
and there's a whole ethos associated with Burning Man, including a sense of community and giving back to the community. And so because of Gina and mine, both of our associations, it just sort of cut a whole bunch out.
Yeah.
There was just an instant trust.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like a commonality of vision.
Sure.
Like you guys, like you're talking about the gifting and
Sure.
the spirit of.
Yeah,
And
the
you
idea
guys
is
have the
gifting
light
with,
up
with
here.
no expectation of anything in return. Yes, the glow.
You have to have some of the blame.
Yes, of course. That was, we definitely needed to have that in here. So, but yeah, so with that
sense of
commonality, yeah, it just made the trust that much easier for both of us, because it was a little crazy when I thought about it. I'm like, wow, I'm going into business with someone I've met for 2.5 days. And there it was, but we did it, and now we have this beautiful space. And
Did you open yesterday? Yesterday, the first day?
so we're on Thursday, so Tuesday, 2 days
2
ago.
days. Yes.
2 whole days. So
Woohoo!
yeah, we're getting there. But hey, we've had some happy coins so far. So for me, my story, I was working in New York just as a banquet manager, and it was kind of dull and wasn't challenging. And my friend Pasha told me about his experience. He went to Blue Light in Chelsea, and I said, well, I want to try that. That sounds weird and different, and I like things that are weird and different. So although now we're trying to make it, it's for the mainstream, but then, you're just going into someone that you don't know their apartment, so it was a little different. But so I tried it out, and I loved it, and I just remember the feeling of calm that I had when I walked out onto the street. And it was very busy, and nothing really fazed me. And I really saw the potential in doing this more regularly, but it wasn't really made readily available in New York. So I just started doing some research, and I found that, well, the West Coast, that's where it's at. So I went out there, and I just traveled, checked out a bunch of centers, and saw what everybody was doing, and then I volunteered at a place up in Seattle, and worked there for a little bit, and kind of got a handle on things. And you know, after I came back, I remember, I think it was my dad picked me up from the airport, and I was just so, well, just to give you backstory, people always were saying, Gina, relax. I heard that like all of the time. It was just part of my life. Everybody was telling me I needed to chill out. And I remember when my dad picked me up, and we were just chatting, and I was just super, super zen, and he just looked at me and said, who are you? And I realized, I was like, wow, okay, maybe I've mellowed out, finally.
And
so
this is after
this was after doing it, yeah, and one of the things that really was an indication that it was working for me was I've always had problems with sleep, like terrible problems with sleep. And at one point when I was floating constantly, because I was working at the center, I moved apartments, and I literally moved over a bar, and they did karaoke, and I slept. That was crazy for me. I slept. They were singing terribly. It was loud, and I slept. So, you know, that says like, all right, this is doing something. So, yeah, so I mean, the transformation was there, and getting to witness people firsthand getting off of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication. We had one gentleman with, recent hip surgery, and we just had someone in here the other day who walked in with his cane and then came out not using his cane. You know, he had a fractured crushed vertebrae, and came in a lot of pain, and just was feeling defeated. And when he came out, he looked 10 years younger. And, you know, if it's a temporary cane, he's not going to have this cane forever, but he didn't need to use it when he walked out. So to see those things firsthand, it's remarkable, and I just love it. So.
And I just loved seeing the last person you had in here. She was all blown
yeah, exactly. It's kind of the coolest job, because you just get to deal with people like that all day.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Can you share a little bit about, like, this is, there's somebody who hasn't done it before,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of weird, or, what kind of things,
It is
come
weird.
up
You
for
haven't
people.
been in this environment since birth. It is weird, but what worth doing isn't, right?
That's true. Well, what things, concerns come up?
So, I guess there's practical concerns to, more larger issues. It could be anything from you can get salt in your eye, but, we orient people to get the best experience, and, worst comes to worst, you get a little salt in your eye, you wash it out. And, in our experience, a good percentage of people come out of the tanks and they're just glowing. There are some people who don't have the best experience, but I think they have a real authentic experience. And, we are so, I personally, if I'm on a subway, I have to have my smartphone on me, I have to be listening to something and or reading. I can never escape. And when I'm in the tank, I'm with myself. Mm-hmm. And ironically, it's kind of an escape though, because, your boss is not calling you, there's no responsibilities when you're in the tank, but you're with yourself.
Yes.
And, sometimes, many times it's very pleasant, but,
Some people chase the distractions. So when they're alone with themselves, that's when they're like, oh, what's this about? I'm alone in my head right now. And, that can be a little disconcerting for some, but that's why it's a practice, and that's why it takes work.
So is this kind of why you're talking about not having people just as a one-time experience, that you're offering, people, this opportunity to be able to have a practice.
Sure, because you're going to see it. The more you do it, you're going to see it.
What things have you guys been careful to put here so that it is a comfortable experience? Because as you're saying, it's strange.
Yeah.
You're there with yourself You're there with whatever's there.
Yeah.
And what have you found that, because when I was looking at the site, there's a number of things you guys put in there. I noticed that there's not just tanks, and there's not just the pod. There's a pool. There's
Sure.
and we're talking about there's a whole orientation. So I imagine there's a number of things you guys have in place that help people to come into this, like, ooh, be by myself.
Yeah.
Besides it being, feel wonderful and floaty.
Yeah, no, I mean, we just try to let people know that they're in control of the session. The number one question is like, what if I want to get out?
Mm-hmm.
Get out. There's no timer. We're not locking anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to come and go as you please. We do offer the 2 different styles, and one, they have their own differences, but largely people will prefer the room if they have issues with claustrophobia because the ceiling is 7 foot tall. So
and you have like stars up there.
and there's
too.
starlight, yeah, so it's really relaxing. It's nice. But yeah, so that's kind of, I mean, both offer a similar experience, but you do have some people that just are a little bit uneasy about the idea of something that's going to close over them, even though, you've been in a pod, I'm sure you've seen that they're quite roomy, so, but it's just a psychological thing like anything else. So we offer that, and then when they come out, we have the lounge for them, and tea and literature and notebooks for them to
everything
jot their
for
experience.
shower and
Of course,
towels
yeah, and
I
you
love
don't
that
need a
guys have
bathing
scent.
suit. Everybody always asks, you don't need a bathing suit. You have your own private pod and your
Just
own,
your birthday.
just your birthday suit,
Birthday
yeah,
suit.
yeah.
Birthday suit's welcome.
And you know what? And it's for numerous reasons. You don't really want any tactile sensation. It's distracting, and you want to just feel free in yourself. So if you have, all of a sudden you notice, like, I don't even want a hair tie-in when I'm floating. So those little things, it makes a difference, and then also just to maintain the best hygiene and.
I like too that you have music. You can have it change volume. You can.
Yeah.
There's just lots of things that help people to feel.
Yeah,
comfortable.
yeah, and some people don't want sensory deprivation. We encourage you to at least try it while you're here, but not everyone wants it.
But just so it's clear, I think you mean no lights,
No lights.
sound.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
That's
no lights
everything
and no
else
sound.
shut out. But when you're in the pool,
Yeah.
you can be looking up.
Some
you can
people
play
want the music throughout. Yeah.
and so they can kind of but still feel that sense of not having weight,
Yeah.
but then not have to have everything
Sure.
taken out. So
Sure.
I love that you've made it really accessible,
Yeah.
inviting. The space is really nice.
Yeah.
And also then I'm going to be partnering with them to to do some healing and meditation sessions, some home in your body sessions before, so that maybe that comes for those particular sessions, gets a deeper sense of safety in your body, guiding in. And so they're also looking at other ways to start bringing in different kinds of sounds, different kinds of therapies, or ways to make this even more amazingly enjoyable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anything else you'd want to share? Want them to know?
Oh.
Somebody to know that's like curious about this.
Yeah. So I guess just another about, what would your experience be like? And, coming in once, lots of people do really enjoy it, but we consider flotation a practice, just like meditation is a practice. And we think it's a little more accessible to meditation because, for the uninitiated, it takes a lot more discipline to do it. And with us, you make your appointment, you come on in. But the amazing, powerful thing about flotation tanks is that they've done studies that show that in the tank, people without training are able to achieve extended periods of time in what is referred to as the theta brainwave state, which is this kind of blissful state that's associated with creativity, and it's something
And
that
healing.
and healing.
And cognition. So your judgment and perception.
And in fact, lots of people in creative fields find that their creative juices are really sparked. But it's a state that kind of Zen masters who have 20 years of meditation
works.
under their belt,
And
they
spend
can
all the time to get there.
get there.
And you can get there coming in here floating and feeling good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
but it's still a practice. You still have to keep up with it.
And how often?
And it won't happen for everyone in their first session, you know. So sometimes people come in with this expectation and they say, "Well, what happened? Nothing happened," you know. So
It's a journey.
yeah, exactly.
But
So
how often would you suggest somebody come?
it's really subjective. I mean, I'm happy here every week and a half, but other people. I'm actually in the month of June. I'm going to come every day. So that's my experiment that I'm going to try to float 30 days straight. And
Wow.
I'm joking. I may be in liquid form by the time I'm done with the month, but I don't know. So it's really hard to say what someone's needs are for any type of therapy. It's really, you know, an
And then you
individual
guys have a couple
experience.
memberships, so you're saying that like
Yeah,
once a
so
month would be a nice
once, twice, or
maintaining.
4 times, depending on, you know, like anything else, if you're really working to accomplish something, if you're really working at something or working on yourself, the more you do it up front, the faster you're going to achieve that desired goal, and then you can start to reduce and find where you're, you know, where you level out. Where you
The
level
minimum
out.
effective dose.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but you know, so of course, more initially is going to be beneficial. So,
Well, very cool.
yeah.
I'm excited. Next time you see me, you'll be on the other side.
Thanks.